Hey, we are here with Wiktoria and Kamil. First, I want to apologize for the noise behind us. Everyone's running around here at FlutterVikings. But you just finished a talk. Draw the undrawable with custom render box. And we are getting all kinds of questions all the time on how to use a render object, how to use a render box. So I tried to sit in on the talk so I could actually learn and answer your questions later, but I got dragged out, so help me, please. If I'm just starting out trying to use something custom like that and customize a render box, how is it structured? How do you even begin, just from the start?
Firstly, it's a very good opportunity to check in the documentation because it's a really good material to check main concepts, for example, to how to start, how to implement layout protocol, and we have a lot of materials there and examples. Kamil, do you want to add something?
Yeah, that's correct. Like documentation, we have very good examples for that, and you can read the current documentation of widgets like padding, the size box, or something even simpler. And I think that the best thing that you can do is just go to the implementation of widgets like center.
Okay, so if we're going to do something like that, how do I define the bounds of the box? I mean, do I just pass in type constraints? Do I have to use a path? Do I give it directions from Google Maps? I mean, how do I start this?
So you mean that you want to define the size of a widget, like render box?
Right. Well, we're gonna use a render box, but now we want to decide what size to make it to even start with.
Okay, so we will receive the box constraints from the parent.
Okay, so we pass in type constraints.
Yeah, so we pass in the constraints. We can basically do whatever is possible. I think it's code size. So because we define the minimum size and the maximum size, we can choose which size we would like to be from the range of those sizes.
Okay, so now we have a render box. When do I want to use a render box versus just make a sized box with a color box in it?
Oh, basically, sometimes you may need to draw some custom shape that is, for example, not very easy to do in widget, but widget composition is really great, but sometimes it may be hard for some situations. On our presentation, we show the example with the gauge widget. The gauge widget is, I think, a good example of that because there is no widget like for arc drawing things with support for some custom layouting process for some different degrees, different sizes for this render box. So the gauge widget, is the best choice for the gauge widget is to use the render box. I think so. And there may be much more different. For example, also the hexagonal shapes. Layouting after. It's like
hexagonal layouting. It's a good example when you wanted to, for example, lay out a lot of buttons with the hexagonal shape, and it's a very good example for that.
Okay. Cool. So one thing I did notice in the code, actually, in that case, you didn't just pass in constraints; you actually gave it a path. Right, you move to and then move to again and draw a line and things like that.
Basically, in our example, we received the constraints from the parent, and we draw the path in this constraint. Like we define the size for this layouting process, so we get the size of the chart, for example, because we're talking about the hexagonal button. So in the hexagonal button, we have also a child, and this child could be anything. For example, it could be the text, like some type of label. And we receive the label size, the height and the width, and we are resizing our parent to match the size.
And align children.
Yeah, like adding paddings, for example, around the child and moving it to the center.
I kind of noticed that the first time you showed the text, it got cut off because it was way too big. It was bigger than the shape. So how did you fix that?
Yeah, so basically we wanted to show that sometimes you need to define something more than only padding or some things like that, because in a hexagonal shape there was like the clip size. I can say this is our name, but maybe
Maybe
not
we
the best,
can
but
add better name,
yeah, it could be much more better. But basically, it means that there is a size that we would like to clip, the corner, the size in horizontal space that we would like to clip. And yeah, we defined, for example, 20 pixels, and we are cutting the edges, and we marking that the 20 pixels horizontals, it's the space that we don't want to render child there. Like this is the space, like this
child not occupy the area of our parent.
yeah, like this is the space that is also to our planning argument. So this is only to lay out our child in the center, not in the corners.
Okay. Very cool. Now, just to triple check, this is not something I need to have a dispose method, right?
You mean for a render box?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's no need for render box. Like render box, yeah, render box just disappearance, nothing more about that. So for stateful widgets, if you want something to have state that could be disposed, the stateful widget, like the name says state, this is the way to go. So if you define tab capture recognizer on any other stuff that could be disposed or should be disposed, the stateful widget is the way to go.
Okay. So, other than reading the documentation, I'm wondering about if somebody's just trying to start out using actual render objects, render box. What's the one thing you learned the hard way that other people can, that by telling them you can save them a headache?
I should think about it.
Uh-oh.
Fit tests, maybe?
I think that there is no answer for that. I think that, for example, some people may have problems with maps. Like this is the graphic
Concepts like we should cover.
Yeah, this is graphic programming. Sometimes you calculating arcs, for example, for allocations, like arcs, arcs Klyta, and so on and so on.
So all the geometry.
Yeah, a lot of geometric calculations, and this may be blocker for some person and for some people, and I know that this may be for them a blocker, but there's like other people may find fit test be hard, because in fit test you also need to calculate the...
And it's for heat testing, it was for me, it was really hard to find proper materials, because it's not a lot of stuff in the internet about heat testing and why exactly we need a heat test. So it's not a blocker, but it's some kind of stuff it's too really hard to find on the internet. So yeah, that's maybe, and it's really hard to debugging when we just start, and when we use Flutter, for example, our stateless widget, it's quite simple. We see our result, but when you're implementing RenderBox, which should be painful sometimes because we can't see our results. So maybe it's sometimes be a headache for some people.
Yeah, like I think that the best thing you can do is to check your code anytime you add a small change, like a line of code. Yeah. So you're adding line of code. What happens? Okay, nothing changes, or maybe the corner is, or maybe error. So yeah, it's good to check any small change because in Flutter it's really easy to render. You can just press Command on MacBook or something like that, or Windows, and you see the change. So this is very good and much easier than, for example, some computer design, some computer graphic programming in, for example, C, when there is a lot of compilation time required to see the changes. So much more simple. Just check your code every time you do a change.
And a good starting point is, for example, check our stack widget and core widgets inside the Flutter, and firstly check types of render box that we have inside our core framework, because we can learn a lot from our, because when we using row or column or stack, we know how they works, and we can check how it's implemented inside the framework and use in our own render box. This is a good solution to check how it's working, and some maybe example, some good example for beginners.
Okay, sounds good. Now, you're from Poland, I believe?
Yeah.
Okay, so what area in general of Poland, in case a GDG in Poland would like to have them come and talk about RenderBox, where would you be able to go? Say within like half an hour or so of where you are? What's it?
We are from the city of Łódź. It's
Yeah.
really close to Warsaw.
Okay.
But we have our GD group or Google Developers Expert.
GDG?
We have
GDE?
GD group.
GDG.
Yeah,
Yep.
GDG. We already created the GDG group 1 year ago in our Technical University of Łódź. So we have one group created in Poland.
Okay. So you helped create the group then?
Yeah, a little bit. I only have the basic talk about the intro to Flutter.
Okay.
Encourage people to starting to learn Flutter and basic concepts.
Awesome. Well, then, would you also be available to speak like virtually if somebody wanted to?
Yeah.
Okay, to do that because it's a great thing. So anywhere in the world that you want to learn about RenderBox, reach out, contact them, and set something up. So hey, thank you very much for taking the time to swing by. Have a safe trip home.
Thank you.
And now that you're done, go get some sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.